Off the Grid recently dropped the most massive update for the game since launching in open beta. This update completely changes the game with the new map section, new guns and limbs, much needed weapon balancing, NPCs, new missions, tons of quality of life improvements, and a brand new game mode that everyone has been asking for. I also show you the very first LAN event for Off the Grid and how it all went horribly wrong. It's mission time. Welcome back, agents. Secret Agent Stache here. We are at GIA headquarters, the gaming intelligence agency, always bringing you the latest intel on the newest games. And man, I'm just barely getting back to health after a massive off-the-grid LAN event, the very first ever, where I brought 8 additional agents from the GIA and we competed live in Las Vegas. We're going to talk a little bit about that here in just a second, but man, we have a bunch of stuff to cover here for Off the Grid in one of their largest updates they've made ever, and there's so much to jump into. So we're going to talk about the first LAN event ever. Then we're going to go into the very brand new mode that's coming for Off the Grid that everyone has been asking for. We're going to talk about some quality of life improvements. We're going to show off the brand new section called Midtown Harbor. There's also a brand new NPC element in the game, which is crazy. And I'm going to tell you guys exactly why you need to be jumping in on that and checking it out. We also have a brand new mission. We have a brand new limb to show off and cool things like emoting in the lobby and some other stuff when it comes down to the actual balancing of weapons and cyberlimbs. We're going to talk about that last. Let's dive into it. Okay, if you guys missed it, there was the first ever off-the-grid LAN event held in Las Vegas just a week ago, and it was teams from the community coming from all across the globe to compete in this LAN event. Versus what you've seen before with the All-Stars event where you had a bunch of streamers playing. This was actual core community members all coming together, and I was super excited about this. We brought 8 other agents, including myself, so 9 total, 3 full teams, 3 full squads that were competing in this event. And we showed up, we were ready to play, as were all of the other great community teams out there. We saw people from Flaw, people from Merc, and people from the Avalanche community all coming together here in Las Vegas at the HyperX Arena. Now, what did happen, if you guys saw on the live stream, was that there was no audio for the stream at all. So hours of the event trying to take place, and there was literally never any audio. And that was not the only problem. There was also a major internet outage the entire day, and it just completely killed the vibe. Now, this had nothing to do with Off the Grid. It was not their fault. It was 100% on the venue, HyperX Arena. They did a horrible job in kind of, mitigating this problem as it happened as well. And it really just kind of killed the vibe. And like I said, a lot of people came from very far distances and flew in for this event. And we only really got maybe 1.5-ish kind of games in where we just, was no internet connection, dropping connections. And, GG still to, the one winner, the one real actual official winner, which was one of the Merc teams won one of the games. But other than that, it was a little bit of a disappointing event. Now, I did get some screen time up there. Maybe you guys saw me featured quite a bit in the live stream, even though you couldn't hear me. I was talking it up, guys, and I was telling everybody how we had such a great community here in Off the Grid, and that was one of the big standouts for me in Las Vegas, was at least we got together as a community for a first time and really got some camaraderie together. We went and hung out, we were having beers together, except for the Merc guys, man. They don't go out, they don't do anything. But the rest of the guys were great. All in all, the event didn't turn out exactly as I wanted it to, and as you guys can hear, it really got my throat, man. Vegas just crushed me. I came back and I've been sick for like the last week. So, but I wanted to kind of show you a little bit of footage here of the event itself and everything, so you guys know that it wasn't a complete total loss. Okay, moving on into the big news here, and this is something that a lot of people have been waiting for. We're finally getting solo mode. That's right, you'll be able to jump into Off the Grid and play as a solo. No more having to rely on a mismatched trio, people who have no comms. This is something that tons of people have been waiting for. It's probably, I would say, one of the most requested features, maybe behind ranked mode. But solo mode is now in testing. We just had our first weekend with it here this past weekend, and they only had a couple of times available, but you were able to jump in and play as a solo. And the way it kind of works is your first death, you get a respawn, but then after that you are on a timer. Now that timer, if you die again, there are ways that you can kind of reduce it, but that's essentially it. It's just like just like how trios work, where you're only going to get so much respawns, and at a certain point you're done. Now, solo mode is in early testing now, and I think that we're going to see this actually roll out here over the next couple of weeks as a full, easy-to-use mode, because what they want to do is they don't want to split the lobbies, so that's an important thing to keep in mind. Now, when it comes to some of the massive improvements for this update, one of the things you'll notice right out the gate is faster movement. Your movement in general is much faster. This is something that we saw them kind of reduce over the last 3 or 4 months, and they brought back faster overall movement, right? This is movement outside of your limbs, and the slide is even longer and more tactical, so you can use it in a lot of better ways. And on top of that, they also made adjustments to the jetpack. The jetpack actually can now run out of fuel, so you can't fly across the entire map and just keep going on one jetpack, right? And you'll start to see this as you see on screen, where it starts to indicate like a big red flashing thing on your HUD, and it's basically saying nope, and then you fall to the ground, and you don't break your legs, but you basically cannot use your jetpack for a little while. It needs to cool down. This definitely helps with some of the movement issues that people have had inside the game here recently. Now, the other big update is Midtown Harbor. This is a brand new area they opened up. It's right next to Salty and the Marshlands, and kind of transitions really nicely from Marshlands, but it is a old dilapidated harbor, so you got tons of cranes, you got tons of cover in like all these boxes and containers and old warehouses that you can jump into, and there's a ton of stuff that is packed in there when it comes to the brand new features and the brand new things they're showing off. But Midtown Harbor in general is, in my opinion, one of the best areas that they've added for sure. It combines some of the best elements from all the different areas, right? So if you love Stork City, which is one of my favorite areas, you got all these tall cranes and zip line buildings that you can use, and Midtown Harbor is just stacked with those, right? It's kind of strategically broken up as well by a big piece of water in the middle, so you got to be careful that you don't dive into that. I almost did at one point, because you will die. But there's also some really cool things there that are very unique to Midtown Harbor as well. So one of those is the new street game called Nuestros Diablos. And this is the very first iteration of NPCs inside the game. That's right, NPCs coming to off the grid. This is a street game in a very specific area here. You can see in the map where we're dropping in, where you can go and you can fight. I think it's 6 or 7 of these Nuestros Diablos, and if you take them all out, it's a guaranteed purple limb hex. That's right. So when you talk about why would you even want to do this, well, there's very little risk because they're not very powerful. One person can easily take them out, and as soon as you clear all them out, you get that purple limb hex, and it's guaranteed every time to be a purple limb hex. So this is a great way to stack some purple hexes that maybe you don't have some of those limbs out there, and take out those Nuestros Diablos, and you'll be able to get one right away. Now, on top of that, there's also a brand new mission called Combat DJ. This is also a really quick way to get some purple weapons early on, and there's almost always a hex that pops out. All you gotta do is just hold the area for a little bit, get your dance on, and then you'll see that a bunch of weapons, armor, and even hexes almost always pop out of these Combat DJ locations. So taking them over pretty early on can be pretty clutch to be able to get stuff instead of trying to get a bounty or get money from some of the other missions to get your loadout. Now, on top of this, it wouldn't be complete without a brand new cyberlimb. We have the Maxi gun. This is basically a Gatling gun in an arm. And whereas it's not the most powerful cyberlimb out there, it does take a little bit of a while to kind of get going, as any minigun should, right? But man, this thing definitely rips at medium to close range distance. So I would say a little bit farther away than Ripper, but not too far, right? Not like sniper range distance. It can definitely rip up your opponents there. So kind of a fun one to pull out there. I wouldn't say it's going to be in the meta just yet, but definitely one that you want to check out and shows you kind of the direction they're going with the cyberlimbs. Now we also have lobby emotes. Now this is not a huge thing, but I do think it's a lot of fun. It kind of goes with the whole combat DJ thing, and I think that we'll see a lot more going on with emotes and fun stuff inside the game. You know, with that combat DJ mission, you're also going to be able to now find songs inside of hexes that you can open up, and you'll be able to use those. And so kind of being able to emote in the lobby, I think, goes along with that and just kind of opens up for a little bit more fun as you're waiting for the game to start. Talking about beginner stuff too here, when we talk about, we've seen now NPCs in the game, as a brand new beginner to Off the Grid, a lot of people said, it's too sweaty, I don't know what to do, I get in there and I just get shredded to pieces. Well, now for your first couple matches, you're actually going to be playing against bots. It's a more noob-friendly environment for people who are completely new to the game to get their, get their cyberlimbs and things like that kind of going, so they understand what the game is all about before they kind of just give up because there's some sweaty teams out there that just absolutely destroy them, right? This also comes with some brand new noob missions that are like some of the most basic missions you can get to kind of help them move along here, in addition to the tutorial. Now, if you've already been playing Off the Grid and you understand the, some of the limitations and some of the overpowered, cyberlimbs and guns in the game, balancing is a huge thing, and they finally did a massive balance patch to some of your favorite and now maybe not so favorite cyberlimbs. Right now, one of the biggest ones is Ripper, has a better hit registration, but they've also reduced the damage down from 350 to 250 per rip, which I think is a great move. It was definitely OP. Ripper is still incredibly powerful, especially at that really close range. So, I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon in the meta, but it is much more along the lines of what it should be and not be a total, one-hit kill. In addition, they also buffed Javelina, so now it can lock on 3 different targets and hit them for 250 damage each, or really you can hit one target with all 3 of these rockets. So a little bit better a little bit more love for Jav there. In addition, something that I've been asking for forever is Kinetic Shield buff. Right now it blocks Ripper, Slam Fist, and other things like this where it didn't used to block those things. We sorely needed some sort of counter for Ripper like this outside of Paralyzer, and Kinetic Shield has been one of the worst performing arms, I would say, so definitely got a good buff there. Now, one of the ones that has been plaguing everybody for months, Trip Mines. They no longer stick to players. Thank you. This was a huge meta here recently where people are just running around with Roadrunners and stick you with the mine and they're out and you're basically downed. And you're not going to be able to get back up from this. So they no longer stick to players. They bounce off if you hit a player with it. So it'll bounce right off. And then there's a 0.5 second delay for it to be armed. So you're not going to be able to greet people like you used to with Trip Mines. I think this is a huge, massive fix here for Off the Grid. They have gone through and made so many quality of life improvements that it feels like a different game. And just in general, the gameplay is smoother. So if you were having trouble before with the game, maybe it didn't run so great on your system, or you just felt like it kind of felt a little clunky, they have improved that overall, the experience overall, and I think a lot of that has to do with the better movement, right? That really helped to, I think, kind of tie everything together that we're seeing with all these updates. And I do feel like, with the Battle Pass getting ready to end here, we're going to get a brand new Battle Pass, and hopefully it's coming with TGE. Now, we don't have any information particularly on this, but they have to launch this damn token sometime soon. And I do feel like we could get lucky here in March. All right, agents, well, there you go. All of the big updates explained for Off the Grid, including the very first LAN event, a brand new solo mode coming, and all these great quality of life improvements. Let me know how you guys are feeling about Off the Grid if you've actually been playing it since this update. It's only been around for about a week or so here, and I'm still kind of getting myself into it as well. But I want to hear from you guys. How do you feel about Off the Grid, and how do you feel about the state of the game right now? Is it ready for launch? Is it ready for TGE? Let me know in the comments below. That's all we have for today, agents. As always, this briefing never happened. Secret Agent Stache, over and out.
Secret Agent Stache. Secret Agent Stache.